Okay, we are live and it is 12:30 here in Brisbane on Wednesday, and I love our Wednesday live. So thank you everyone for coming in and listening and commenting and just adding value to the conversation, and that's really why we do it. So my name is Kylie Denton. I'm the owner and director of Performance Advisory Group. We work with senior leaders and their teams in financial services, developing and growing inspirational leaders and sales teams. I've got Arthur Callos here, who is also within financial services. Arthur runs a dealer group. He's also an extremely successful financial planner himself and is an entrepreneur in this space. So welcome, Arthur. I love having your contribution each week. And Bram Legru is a Belgian-born psychologist, but really what you do so much more of than that space is really helping other entrepreneurs, other business owners to become amazing in the sales process, with the sales conversation and also with the business development. So I love also having you with us every Wednesday and sharing some of the insights around the behavior and how that impacts where we want to go. Today is all about the emotional roller coaster that business owners go through when they're trying to turn their business around. But it's not really just business owners, is it? Because whatever impacts the business owner also impacts the people around us. Arthur, I know this is your real sweet spot. You love working with financial planners that come under your dealer group and really getting them to turn around and grow into something they probably never thought they could be. But with that comes emotions.
Yeah, but the subject matter today is actually myself. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So I had a moment this morning with my team, and I call out to the team in one of my businesses who will probably end up watching this video at some point. We had a moment this morning where the moment where I realized the flow, and it was really, really satisfying. Like, it was a moment where everyone really joined in the joy, and kudos to them and congratulations to them for turning this business around. And so I'm sharing this story because it is a roller coaster, and one I'd like to share and maybe point out a couple things that I learned through the process and actually remain focused and headstrong through the process. And backstory is a bit of context. This particular business, many of you may not know, I live in Adelaide and commute regularly to Melbourne. And through the lockdown, this business was essentially, largely neglected. And, through the period, I thought things were going okay. Probably you're in denial when you're kind of seeing some of the numbers and you out of sight, out of mind. So that's kind of the first emotion. And I was finally able to get back to Melbourne once the restrictions eased, and there was a bit of a consistency and no lockdown periods earlier this year, unfortunately not recently. And, I got back and I had, one of those, oh my God moments. And I just went, it's completely in opposite what I was, perceived to be the case. And so it was like one of those, oh my God moments. What am I going to do here? Start again, wipe the board clean. Do I move it on? Do I, detach it from the portfolio of businesses that I have? And, I think the first lesson, I basically would like to share with everyone is just really having a clear vision of what's possible. And so before you make any kind of knee-jerk reactions and say, well, be accountable, say, well, you haven't been here for the last 12 months. Of course, the business is going astray. And so, wipe the board clean. And so I had some people involved in the business. They were moving out, moving on. And so it was like, well, of course they're going to move on. Like, the leader's not on the floor. What do you expect? So you only got yourself to blame. Circumstantially, I can forgive myself because it wasn't intentional. It was situational. But the realities is, if the leader's not on the floor, there's no direction, there's no leadership, and people, don't engage, and it's all too hard, isn't it? So then you're going to say, right, okay, well, what's possible here? So come up with the vision, the plan, and say, all right, well, how are we going to turn this around? And you either got to go all in or you don't go in at all. You can't half bake this. Like if you come up with this vision, you got to resource it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I employed 4 new staff in a period of actually 5 new staff in a period of about 3 months. So, you can imagine what that kind of environment is like. You got new faces, new people, and, people having to gel, reorganize the whole, I guess, business value proposition and the business processes and how, each of those persons kind of fit into that process and compartmentalize so we could scale up and grow. And so, having a vision of what's possible. But what I kind of learned down the line was I've got the picture in my head. I know this can work, but you've got to get them on board with believing the same, because it's belief without proof, right? Like I know I believe in it, I can see it, but how am I going to get the output from these people without the proof? How do you do that? So I went through an exercise, actually showed them some benchmarking of similar type businesses and how they perform and the best in breed. And there's a lot of light bulb moments when they kind of said, well, now I know why Arthur's giving me this KPI. Now I know why I've got these metrics to achieve, because they're actually not even to the level that the best achieve. So surely, I can be accountable to actually achieve something, a minimum just under that, and rise to that level and be consistent to contribute to the outcome and what's in Arthur's head. And so that was a light bulb moment when I actually shared those statistics. So you can sit there demanding and calling people out and calling out underperformance, but until they take that leap of faith and you demonstrate the belief without the proof through, obviously some benchmarking or some actually similar business that perform in the same arena and what they can achieve as a team, they just don't buy in. So that was a really good step that I thought that kind of shifted things, shifted the energy in the business. And then, setting high standards, do not accept mediocrity, right? So, there were some painful conversations, I'm a fairly demanding person. I know what's possible. I'm going to drive. I'm going to go for it. And I want you on board, and I want you to, achieve these goals and, give them the right incentives and the right support. But you realize very quickly who's on and off the bus. Yeah. If you accept mediocrity, and if you accept, consistent non-performance or not meeting those KPIs, then it just drags everyone else down. And so you got one part of the puzzle not performing and that weak link. So in that process of hiring the 5, we had to let go of 1. And that just strengthened the links between the other 4. And obviously we replaced it with another person that contributed to the level that we required. And so, through that exercise, I think, everyone felt safer as well, because they felt like, well, I am delivering, I'm contributing, and I understand what performance looks like and the standards that's required here, and I'm buying in, and I understand the consequence if I don't. So you gotta make sure that you don't accept mediocrity and accept lower standards, because anywhere that you're doing that in that process, that link, it just drags everyone down with it, and you're just not going to achieve that vision. Setting high standards, persistence and decisiveness. Being decisive, making the hard calls, having the hard conversations, and just persisting with people and helping them and nurturing them, and and then rewarding them along the way. And then you get to the point that I had today, which was really, I just sat back, and they run the production meetings now. I don't run it, and they're taking leadership, they're taking accountability, they've embraced that. And I just sat back and I just kind of saw the numbers flow, and I saw where we're at. And I just went, you know what? I actually had that moment. I just went, guys, well done. It's going to flow. I can see it now. And everyone you just saw a bit of relief and a bit of joy, and they all kind of clapped.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's awesome. And so it's like a 4-month journey, a complete business transformation turnaround, a few casualties along the way. But, everyone's really engaged, everyone's really embraced. And I can see the clients are really engaged as well, because the staff are now engaged. So massive turnaround, a big call out to my team. Well done, guys. Great job. And that's it. That's my story.
It's little 4 months. That's fast.
Oh, you know how I operate, Bram. I don't it's a big turnaround. But like I said, you got to resource it, and you got to have a go. You can't hold back. If you're directing the traffic, you got to back it up. You just can't be lean about it, because then you just put too much stress points across the business. and people just don't feel they can achieve, right? So yeah, it's big investment, big backing, and to their credit, they're delivering.
Yeah, it's so much gold in there, Arthur, and congratulations to you and the team. You know, we all know Warren Buffett, don't we, in financial services. You know, one of the things he said is, if you can't back yourself, who can you back?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I went into business myself nearly 10 years ago, I was going through a separation, I was pregnant, and I went, oh, let's start a business. And everyone looked at me as if I was absolutely crazy. And I wasn't. I don't think I was. But I remember saying, you're probably going, she was crazy. But I remember saying to many people around me, if I can't back myself, who can I back? Okay, 9 years later, we're here. But one of the things that I really loved about what you shared was you've got to have a vision, okay? You got to know what success looks like. You got to know where you're going, okay? And that's critical. It's got to be clear. I know with my vision, my strategy, it is so clear to me and my team that there's no way we're going to get off track because we know what's next. But one of the 2 points that I want to make here, and then I want to pass over to you, Bram, for you to be able to share some amazing wisdom like you normally do, is there was 2 things that are really pivotal when we're trying to get people on the bus or get them to come along that vision with us. And the first one is they must have the awareness that we need to change. Okay, that awareness might be the results, it might be the behavior, it might be, the culture of the team. Okay, but there's got to be that awareness. People have got to know, yep, it's time for change. Okay, but the second most important part, and that awareness normally comes from the leader. So it sounds like you've done a great job in doing that. But the second part is they've got to have the desire to get on the bus, the desire to change, the desire to come on that journey. And it sounds like the 4 that you had left out of the 5, they were on the bus. They were there with you and they had that desire to change. You can tell them everything else. You can give them knowledge, the training, all of that. But unless they have awareness of the need to change and the desire to get on that bus with you, you're not going to get to where you need to go. I love that. Bram, what's some words of wisdom from you?
Look, first of all, I can relate to what you described there, Arthur, about, taking people on the journey with you. And it can be very frustrating. It can be very daunting. It can be very, sometimes, you can really run out of juice and will and desire to want to do it all. I've been there too. I've had moments where I thought, like, why am I doing this? Why would I even try to bother? Why would I put all this money in and all this time? And then, then I think as long as you can keep, let's say, holding on for something down the road, that little light at the end of the tunnel that is really worth it, you can keep putting jet fuel in the tank. And I think that's really what I think sometimes, what is really a hard thing to get right is that, yes, you're the leader, but you need the team to be able to carry it out. And how can you make them part of that same sort of there's light at the end of the tunnel? How can you make sure that that light is actually appealing to them? Because some people are in a comfort zone and some people find it very daunting to embark on change and will resist it, especially if they don't see why they even should bother, whether it's challenging and so on and so forth. So look, my 2 cents on this one here. I think emotion is really good to acknowledge and work with. We sometimes say, there's people that swim against the stream and some people that swim with it. And I think emotion, especially when you go on change, you're going to face emotions of all kinds. And they're not good or they're not bad. The thing is, what do you do with them? If I know, for example, that somebody's really resisting change, I would see it as a leader in my job to actually have a meaningful conversation with them to dissolve the emotion that keeps them locked into a comfort zone mode. So you need to have that conversation. You need to be okay to confront people and deal with the emotions that they're presenting without judging the emotion as good or bad. Because you said earlier, Arthur, there's some people that don't cut it anymore and they will have to be let go. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that you might not find, you might not be on the same journey anymore. Yeah. The roads have separated. They've taken off an exit. Yeah. And it's just now a natural consequence for both of you to part ways and wish each other good luck. But having said that, there's also people that if they have the light bulb moment, as you beautifully described, if they can suddenly see like, hey, you know what? Arthur has taken steps. He's actually resourcing. He's putting right people in place, and he's pulling people up on their BS stories, and then giving us the benchmarks that allows us to reach for the stars, and we can see that it's achievable. Well, then suddenly you're getting people on board. The second thing that I want to share very shortly is whatever people co-create is what they will support. So as long as a leader doesn't necessarily come from the ivory tower and say, hey, I suddenly seen the light. This is my vision. This is what you guys should do, and drive it top down. Yeah. We all know that really is doomed to fail in these days and times with all sorts of generations that really want to be part of something. And so if you can help have people say, this is what I would love to achieve. And I wonder, knowing what you know, how should we go about it? And you brainstorm it and work through it together, and you create the how to get to the vision. Suddenly you got everybody basically pulling their weight and really going the extra mile. And I think that's really where I see beautiful teams excel and do stuff that they previously didn't think they could achieve.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I love it. And a couple of things that that really just hit the nail on the head for me as I was hearing you talk. And it's something that I'm always saying to people all the time is be comfortable feeling uncomfortable. Okay, because that's when change occurs. Okay, we need to be able to feel those emotions in order to understand where we're going. I'm going to share a model, and then I might pass it over to you, Arthur, to wrap us up and to say anything else that you want to final point that you want to make. But there's a model, because I love models. Everyone knows that I love the leadership model. So I'm going to share a model that's going to help people on this journey around turning businesses around. And it's called the Kubler-Ross change curve. Okay, Kubler. I'll pop it into the chat bar. In fact, I'll see if I can find a link to it. It really, if you know about the 5 stages of grief, the same psychiatrist who developed that also developed this, because she said there are a range of emotions that people go through when we're going through business change or change in general. So when we understand where people are on that curve, it allows us to change our tack with them, because not everyone comes along that journey at the same time. So it's a great model to be able to use and just check in with your team. And finally, and I say it all the time, and I only just said it to a group of leaders that I presented to today, is you don't have to have all the answers. In fact, I don't want you to have all the answers. Ask the team. Between you and the team, that's when you get the most amazing answers. But sometimes as leaders, we feel that we've got to have all the answers. When we engage, when we co-create, when we collaborate, then that's when we empower and drive people to want to come on the bus with us.
So true.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Ram. Arthur, anything you want to add?
I don't really have much more to add. I think the contributions to the story have been brilliant from both of you, and some really clear messages. Well done, Kylie, on the offering of that framework, and Bram, your insights were fantastic. And I think closing stories, sharing stories. So I think starting off these sessions with the story is always a great way to go, and being real and real life situations. I guess the funny part about all this is I actually shared a story with the team. We have moved into a new space, recently. I want to move into this new office space. There was a plant on the floor that was dead. Right? For better, it was gone. The leaves had fallen off. The thing had dried out. And I'm looking at this thing going, what am I going to do with this thing? And I'm looking outside. There's a nice little balcony with plenty of sun. And I kind of related the plant to the business. And I said to myself, you know what? I can't give up on this plant. I'm going to give this plant the nurturing it needs. So I took it outside, you know, I stripped it all back, and I started watering it every day. And, you know, well, not every day, every second day, let's say. And I'm watering it for probably the last 6 weeks. And it was probably a bit longer, actually, because time flies, you know,
Yeah.
these days.
When you're in lockdown.
So anyway, so, you know, I've gone out this morning, and guess what I see?
A one green leaf.
A couple of green leaves coming out. And I
love
just
it.
kind of, because I kind of was running that plant's journey on recovery with the business. I thought, if I can get this plant to rejuvenate,
Beautiful.
you know, and then finally I got that feeling this morning with the business, you know, that they had their own common stories on the journey. Anyway, bit of corny stuff to end off the session, but you know, never give up, never stop nurturing, and you know, and give
Never stop watering yourself.
never stop watering yourself, and nurturing your business and supporting your people. So another story to finish off with. There you go.
I love that story, Arthur. Thank you, Bram. Thank you, Arthur. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope you got some value from it. I'll pop that framework into the comment section in there so that you can have a look at it. As always, please reach out to Arthur, myself, or Bram if you've got any questions at all. We'd love to have a chat. So thanks, everyone.
Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.